Hey, I'm back and we're ready. Okay, what I wanted to do, guys, was I wanted to go over a game. It's a longer game, but it's so worthwhile. The player's name is E. Burge. So we're just going to call him Burge. That Black and Zhang Zong Yung. I hope I'm pronouncing that. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I'm just going to call him uh, Zong. We'll just call him Zong, okay? So I can pronounce it. That's one that I can. Okay. So Burge, our Burge is black, and Zong is white. This is the French Winier, and it may go into the advanced variation, but I wanted to do a series on the kind of the French defense, and we're going to show how Burge also he won some and lost some. We're going to see why he won and why he lost. We're gonna go over that. Like I'm gonna do one day. I'm gonna do his wins right today, and then tomorrow I'll do the losses, and we'll see what he played differently that gave him a victory, and what made the difference in his learning experience. Because we don't call it a loss, we call it a learning experience. What did he have to learn from the other games that he was able to win on these? Okay, so with that, you guys kind of get an outline of what I'm going to be doing. We're going to be going over this gentleman's name. I mean, gentleman's game. Sorry, not name. It rhymes with game, so I actually, for some reason, that was on my mind because I was thinking about their names. So, with that, let us begin. Oops, 1 second. Oh, there we go. A little lag there. Sorry about that. E6, D4, D5. This is the beginning of the French. It can go into the advanced. It can go into the Winier. It can go into many different French openings. So there's tons and tons of them. Not tons. Well, there's a large amount of them. But they all have one thing in common: E4, E6, D4, and D5. This is the common setup for the French here. So you'll know when your opponent, if you play this and he does E4, you do E6, and then he does D4, D5, you guys will know now that this is the start of the French. Okay. He went knight C3, bishop B4. And he played E5. And that's the correct line because we talked about that. Hold on. If let's say he just plays, we'll say he plays his bishop right here. What you can actually do is potentially you can first take here. If he takes back, then you take the pawn, and you have won a pawn. Yes, you've given up your good bishop, but think about it. You've won a center pawn, and it can be protected with F5, and you'll be able to hold it into a really good endgame. That's why they play E5 before then. But then you counter in the center. See, the idea for white is to hold these two pawns, the E pawn and the D pawn. Or the D pawn, E pawn. It depends how you want to say it. And if you can break these two pawns here, if you can take them off the board, you will be able to win the game because you'll be able to have the structure. You could push and unleash your dark squared bishop. I mean light squared bishop. So that's why they locked this down, is to make your light squared bishop bad. That's kind of what the French idea is about. If you can get your light squared bishop to an active like square here, maybe you can come out that way. You can come out. There's a way that you can actually come out here, and maybe sometimes you'll be able. Drat. I'm sorry, that lagged. You'll have here. Sometimes you'll have the bishop that comes out this way. Sometimes you'll have a bishop that is here and then it comes out. So you have a multitude of different ways for your bishops to come out. You just have to be able to strategize around that. c5 is played to break the center. Attack d4. a3. At this point, you don't want to retreat back. You don't want to retreat back because your idea, remember, you want to retreat. You don't want to retreat because queen g4, queen g4 may come and it'll cause devastation if you don't play it correctly. But there's been a lot of, you could move back, but the only sitch is there. Then takes, then he takes, and yes, you can win a pawn, but it opens the file up here. And your goal in some of the French lines of the Winier is actually to, excuse me, is to castle queenside, because White's idea is to just totally destroy your king side, and your idea is to destroy his queen side and kind of get active. Your goal is to say to White, yes, you may infiltrate into my position, but at what cost did you come into my position? You wasted a lot of moves with your queen. Yes, you may get some pawns, but remember, it's not about pawns, it's about checkmate and activity and development. So he takes, B takes C. 1 second, just give me a second, I just need a drink of water. Okay, I'm better now. There we go. A little dry mouth. Okay. C7 is an important move. You have another idea though. You could play, rather than queen c7, this is kind of a more standard line. You could actually go knight e to e7, because the queen potentially could come out here, and then what you can do is, if must be, you can actually play here. You also have the ability of, like, you could play here, and then when he takes here, you play your rook to g8. Then when he takes, what you do then is you play pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, takes, and you have, now you've kind of taken advantage of the central control. There's also potentially a5. There's, your bishop has a potential now of getting out. And remember, sometimes to trade off you want to trade off these two bishops. If you could trade these two bishops off, you have a winning position as well. Because remember, the center is closed. Yes, you've taken out all of his pawns, but you have a firm central control, and that sometimes will allow your knights to be more powerful than the bishops. So you have to decide that what you want to do, but you need to, if you can, trade off these two bishops right here. It's important that you do, because this is his good bishop, this is his bad bishop, because of how the pawn structure was before it got obliterated in the center. It was on dark squares, so it made this bishop bad. So we want to trade his good bishop for our bad bishop. Okay, with that, we will continue. I wanted to show you why queen c7's okay sometimes. It has an idea of, if this is played here, you could play here as well. If he takes, you bring your rook over, and then if she takes, you can actually take here. And then if takes back, now you got queen takes on the pawn on c2. So there's, hey, oh good, I'm doing good. We're going over a game from E. Burge versus Zong as White, and it involves the Winier. And so we're kind of doing a French game. It's a little bit long, but the reason I wanted to do it is it goes from the French Winier all the way to the end, so we get to see what the French Winier in the variation that Burge set up, what it looks like for black, and that we can then set up our games that way. Okay, G4 is played. He played F5, which is a that's not really a move that's played very often, because usually, excuse me, you would play E7. You would allow the queen to come in, you'd bring your rook over, and when the queen took this pawn, you have the potential of taking, and then you can develop your knight. Yeah, this is an interesting idea. I was studying from Grandmaster Simon Williams, and he talks about knight to g7. Some you have to kind of give up a little some of the queen kingside pawns to be able to castle queenside, and it allows for an attack to happen. Like the queen is offside, and we'd be able to take. We'd also be able to come in and we have two attackers. Then we can have three attackers. The bishop could come out. And if castled, maybe we can actually have the bishop come here, here, and be powerful. It depends. There's a lot of ways that the bishop can come out. Here, there, yeah, it all depends. But we want to, if we can, trade these two bishops off because we want to leave him with a bad dark square bishop. So we'll go back because this I really have not seen f5 be played. That's an interesting move. Queen checks and then g6. It's not bad. It's just a little different. It's he did Berg doesn't want to lose his two pawns here for an initiative, which means an attack. He's willing to kind of slow play it into a closed game for a while before he gets going. So this is more likely going to set up for a closed game, which is going to make our knights better. So he's going to try his heart out to play either b6 and bishop to a6. I mean b6, bishop a6 to trade these guys off. Remember, the goal is if we can get these guys off the board. His structure, a white structure, is horrible for his dark square bishop. And especially since he's locked all these pawns on light squares, and Zong will be left with a dark square bishop if he can trade these two bishops off. It'll benefit black because he'll have two knights versus a knight and a bishop. In a closed game, we've learned from our endgame through Jeremy Silman, his endgames course, that knights are better in closed games than bishops, especially when the structure, how many pawns are on the color of this dark squared? Almost all of them except one, and I don't count this one because it can't really be moved until this one gets pushed. So there's only one that's on the light squared. If this was just the bishop that's left, if they had these two pieces, white and black were left with these two pieces, black would have either excuse me, equal, or he might even be better in this position. So the queen goes back because he's predicting and preparing for c takes d5 4 sorry c takes d4. We'll be safer yeah, that's the whole thing about a 1 second. Need to get a drink of water. Better. Okay, that's the whole thing about a closed position. Jeremy Silman talks, there's two methods. There's dynamic and static. Static is more like if you wanted to do a move in a closed game, it may take you, rather than 2 in a dynamic move, it may take you 10. It may take you a lot more, but you get the job done. And especially since black would be left with two knights versus this bishop, if the bishops can be traded off, he would have more of a superior position. Okay, so now he's trying to get the bishops off. Potentially a6 could be played, but if I was kind of white, I would try to actually maybe play a4, kind of get this, stop the bishop from potentially getting traded, because that's his idea. Burge's idea is to trade off Zong's light square bishop. So he needs to keep that in mind. Zong does, in the back of his mind, not to do that, because he'll lose his most powerful bishop. And in a close game like this, two knights rule against a knight and a bishop. The knight comes out. He's trying. He's going to try to infiltrate into g5. Yeah, g5 is huge. G5 move would be an important move. Yes, it's not fully an outpost, but potentially maybe he could. Let me see. How could he make that? I don't think he could make that outpost now that I think about it. It's kind of a little risky to do that because that would allow expansion on the king side. So I'm not really sure why he actually moved. Maybe here, because that's a little too, in my opinion, too brazen, too up front of a move. He needs to somehow lock this down so that he can bring his pieces in. Maybe bishop here, something. I don't know. We'll have to see what he plays. A4. That's actually a really good move. That's a really, in my opinion, either A6 and a B5 is a good idea, or directly A4 is, because indirectly he's pinning down the queen to the defense of the C2 pawn, which means she's out of commission unless bishop D3. But that there's a sitch with that. C4 can be played, and then this pawn is only protected by the queen. So Berg did really good, and this move is strong. That I don't know. Potentially, in my opinion, it may be in a sclam, but I probably not, because this has a lot to do with the closed position. He's taken advantage of the weaknesses in White's position. This is a weakness. Yeah, that it's a really strong move because it does a multitude of different things. It shuts the queen out, and the king might have to actually move after this dark square bishop moves somewhere, maybe here or something. The king potentially could go to d2 because we're in a closed position. Yeah, and so if this gets taken here, then I gotta say, if Zhang does take here, that is a very bad, super bad move, because now he's left with two more weaknesses. He wants to, if I was Zhang, I would try to somehow seal up that weakness with maybe a bishop to e3 or maybe f4 and bring my king in so I can free my queen up. Otherwise, he's stuck with his queen, which is a 9-pawn advantage, guarding a 1-pawn. And so you just gotta wow, he actually did d2. That's interesting. Maybe he's playing on pushing. That's an idea. That potentially could be an idea. Maybe pushing and then I don't know. I may actually want to actually push and lock it. If it was me, I know we're going into a closed game, but potentially c4 might have been slightly better with Berg's idea, because if he's wanting to keep pressure on c2 with his bishop, he needs to lock this structure down. This does a multitude of ideas as well. The light square bishop can no longer come here. So the c4 is a potential idea. You do lose the ability to open the position up by that, though. So if Berg wanted to open the position, he wouldn't want to push. But since he has the two knights, in this situation, he would want to actually lock this down. Some players like to, I really haven't studied him that much. I just recently found him when I was looking for French games. He plays the French a lot. So I was looking for games that had a really good French player, and he has like 100+ games in the French. Some he won, some he lost, but they're there. And that's what I would have played. I like attacking positions. But sometimes you have to, as Simon Williams says, go positional. He doesn't like doing positional games, but sometimes that's how grandmasters, they have to be flexible in positional. Yeah, in positions they have to be able to do dynamic and static, and that's why Magnus Carlsen is world champion. Is he's able to he would probably push c4. I don't know if he would or not, but if he did, let's just say he did push c4, he'd be able to grind his opponent down. He's known to just grind until his opponents make errors, and then he slowly takes advantage. It might just be a point 0.2 advantage, and then over a while, if you get enough point 0.2 advantages, it equals 1 pawn. So you just have to be careful with your play. That's not a bad move. I think he's probably wanting maybe to come in here, or maybe here. Let's see what. Maybe no. I'm trying to think. Maybe here opens up the position. Huh. He also has the potential of castling as well, and I can see why he doesn't want to close. There's this file that's opened, but potentially all he'd have to do is push here, and the structure would be slightly closed after here. Yeah, so yeah, you have to be very careful. Like with his idea, this actually was a nice idea. It shows that black has a pretty good stronghold right now in the position, that he's able to get his bad bishop outside the pawn chain is huge. Simon Williams says that if that ever happens for black, you know white did something incorrectly with the opening into the middle game, because you want to lock this bishop down behind these pawns, because that's his weakness. So you'd want to trade off probably these for that. I'm sorry. You'd want to trade these guys off for those two pieces, and then white would have a slight winning potential because of the pawn structure. So you just gotta, the pawn structure, like Simon Williams says, will tell you where to attack, because where the pawns are pointing usually is the side that you're going to attack on. That's why in the London, when you have a structure that points like that way, you know you're attacking on the king side. And if it points this way, you're attacking on the queen side. So it's all where the pawns are pointing. Bishop d3, h6. Interesting. So that's actually not a bad idea. He's trying to. He knows that white more likely is going to castle king side. So he's getting ready for when white castles. He'll castle queen side, and then he'll start storming these guys up the board, because white really doesn't have much of an attack on the queen side at this moment. Black does. So h4, that's a forced move. That is kind of slightly forced, because white can't allow these monsters to just come storming up the board. If he allows the pawns to get like this, he's in trouble for sure, because next will be here. The knight would have to move, and then you just slowly squeeze your opponent to oblivion, basically. I don't like to use too mean of words about your opponent, but some words have to be used when in the English language that kind of sound gruff. But so he castles queenside. Oh boy. I don't know if I would have castled unless I'd played. Oops, sorry. Unless I'd played here, I don't know really if I would have castled queenside. I know it leaves this open, but still a little. It's still a little risky on castling at this moment, and potentially you may not need to, because if the position stays closed, the king's activity is more important in a closed position. after the queens get traded. Black has a better advantage in a close game. So he castled h3. Potentially he's want to go to g3 and then attack. Wow, white's kind of now in a problem. He really can't castle, so I guess white's kind of now relying that black won't open the position, because now if black does get his guys going, it's going to be pretty bad because this king is stuck directly in the center. I guess you can say that where black's king is potentially has an attack, but he's got enough defenders that could protect it. He can even go h7 along this diagonal or d7 and protect. So white does have bishops, I understand that, and knights that potentially, but why would you want to give up the right at this moment to castle? I know these players have their ideas and they know where they're going, so we maybe should let Zong move some more and we get to see. Yeah, I thought he might play h7. So he's moving his king over, so he's trying to castle by hand. If he can get his king here, it'd be considered, well, actually I've seen players actually go bring their rook like here, the king's up here or here, and then they castle. So that's called castling by hand. If your king's here, the rook slides over and the king goes. That's a potential. I've actually done that before and won a couple games. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Wow. Yep. His idea now is to break the center. Whoa. Because if takes, there's the threat of attacking the queen, and the c4 could be played winning this pawn. So there's a lot of attack for black at this moment. Wow. And then alright, he's kind of this is kind of a forced move. Now he's guarding after all the exchanges. That is guarded. So now the idea of the h1 isn't as strong as it priorly was. So c4, there we go, we like that right there. See, g5, let's see, g5 takes, bishop takes. Interesting. That does keep the position closed, so I can see kind of that idea is an interesting thing for white to play. Potentially he could do that. Black's relying on this open file, the H file, so I'm not sure. Oh, g5, yeah, if he goes g5, takes, yeah, there is a knight that would attack there and that, yeah. So he's going to have to plan around, exactly, yeah, he'd have a knight that would fork these two and then a pawn that could win. It's just, at this moment, sometimes you have to prepare for these attacks. You can't just implement your attack, especially in a closed position. 1 second, I need to just drink water. 1 second. Okay, better. Alright. So we'll continue onward. Okay, so he retreated back, forced. Remember your idea that you were talking about there? He's handling that sitch. You're exactly right. He's going to go for it. He's probably going to reroute his knight there and then bring his queen over with a more of an attack on that square. So he's getting ready for the break. He's getting ready for this push. He's getting everything going. Actually, he could just play here, couldn't he? Yeah, he could actually do that. No, I'd play here then. No, yeah, I'd play here then. Well, actually, he could play here and still play that and there. So, Yeah, that's an interesting idea, potentially. Yeah. There we go. See? I didn't even look, and he had the idea. Wow. 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 That's a little, my opinion, maybe a little too soon. That might be. I understand that his idea probably is to go um, knight f3 to guard this. Maybe he's got to blitz it. Yeah, the king's vulnerable, so potentially he could sacrifice these guys and just devastate the king side. And then he has his rooks, his queen. So sometimes you have to give up something to gain a lot. That's the kind of motto in chess. G4. Wow, let me see. What would have happened if he'd played there? You'd have had to reroute. I think maybe pushing, maybe locking the position. Yeah, it's black's totally dominating in this position. So that was, in my opinion, not the best idea in the world because I can see why if takes, bishop takes, this is a potential weakness, but remember there's a knight that's guarding it, so every open line that comes to the king is more of a chance that black could cause a lot of pain. Lots. And especially if this opens, maybe he'll even open here, then after that, then he could bring his rooks over to sacrifice that for a check. Actually, he can't because of that. I could see why he's doing that, but wow. H ho. he's going for a blitz, man. This is cool. Glad I picked this game. Snikes. Takes. Oh, that was stellar of a move. Snikes. Wow. Now you have a problem. Wow. Now you got a little bit of problem with these guys. And the king is going to get really... This knight is... I mean, this rook's almost trapped. He's one move away from being trapped. Except he can go back. So... But then you have a fork again on that. So it'd be here, back, there, and you're forking the rook and the bishop. So... And you can only save one. Yeah, that would not be a wise. He'd have to actually take, and then takes. I was just looking at the forking position that potentially could arise. There it is. He's starting to move in for the for his finishing blows. Surprisingly, this went out to 71 moves. So, yeah. Let me see. I want to see if it's 71, 79. Sorry. Yeah, that is an interesting sitch, isn't it? Let me see here. If he'd played here, he's got that there with two. Then he's got two passers. Huh. F5. That is an idea that white could actually play in that sitch. But I think he was more concerned about taking because that would loosen the king's center potentially. I think you're right about that. That might have been a better idea. But remember, it would make every piece for it'd make his bishop so sour. I don't think he would take. In that sitch, I don't think he would take. Because then he can maneuver. Let me see. Could he maneuver? Yeah, he could maneuver around here and then start hammering at that. I don't think that if he played here, I wouldn't take. Well, if he played there, potentially, let's see back here. If he played here, I don't think I would actually take. I think I would allow the position to stay closed and then maneuver my knight around to attack these two pawns. Because I have enough protection here that I could, because then I'd have two pieces actually attacking, and the queen and bishop would be locked down to this defense. There's enough weakness, and then remember pass pawns, and then you can get a rook. If the bishop moves, you can get a rook here, devastating. Yeah, so that is an interesting idea. Okay, he's going for our idea. There it is. Okay. Takes. He's now that was actually an important move. It stops that. That's no, you know what? It's good to try ideas out. That's the whole idea about chess. Yeah, exactly. Ninovich is a really good book for he has some really good endgame ideas. So you can learn a little bit from everybody, but remember that ideas are what chess is about. It's the battle for the mind, and so we got to try ideas out. Because if we don't, like some of my ideas that I proposed weren't the best, and but I learned why it is not the best, and we went from there. So you always have to try new things out, because even if they don't work out, well, you got to see why, and you won't do it in your game. Oh wow, so takes there. Oh, nice tactic. That was a sweet tactic. Wow. Let's see here. I can see, I think he's worried about that there. I have no idea, but he infiltrated, and that's kind of why I was slightly concerned about this move here, the pin. So I don't know if that was maybe there, but there's a potential here and then there. But you can always double up and then move over. I know you sometimes got to be careful. Let's see here. Could he have pawn stormed this guy up the board though? Because he's got enough defense here. Oh, like here, there, there. Maybe there's a he might have perpetual. No. No, I think he's winning in this position. No, I think the pawn push was an okay idea. I think it was more of a because now he has to worry about his. There's no way for his rook to retreat. His rook's dead. So I don't know. I don't know if I think this might have been a better idea. And if you're gonna go for a kingside attack, go all out. He has enough defense that he can handle this attack. I think he should have just started smashing the kingside up the board. But it's not a bad idea to go for an attack. He's trying to trade down because he's up material, so he's going to go into an end game. Interesting idea. I don't know. Why didn't he just push? He could win the rook, can he? Let me see what the computer says. I want to see what the computer says. Yeah, see? That's the best idea. Wait a second. It wants the knight move? Why is this a bad idea? Oh, because of there. Okay. So I was wrong. There was a retreat square. My bad. There we go. Now he's taking advantage. Oops. I gotta turn that off. I don't want that to be on. Wow, that is. He's gonna have to go rook c. Wow, everything. I've had a position that was similar to this, so that I had to put my rook, queen, and this on it. It's like, wow. But he's got such a clamp on the king side that he could someday push here and just smash the king open. But now white has some counterplay. He's trying to now come in for the push and trying to get some mating idea, maybe potentially here or two rooks. Yeah. Now you have to, in this situation, Burge has to be patient because you're not going to get a lot moving in this sitch. So he's moving towards an endgame now. I don't know if I would. Well, I might have played my king up a little bit, maybe, but he's maneuvering his knight. Now do you see the power of knights in a closed game? They just dance over everything and start gobbling up pieces. I mean pawns. Wow, this is cool. He's getting this king. Yeah, it is. It's pretty unique on his endgame play for sure. Huh. What could he have actually played here? Let's see. Yeah, I would have taken, okay, takes. King takes. Okay, pushing the pawn. Yeah, then you can potentially, yeah, I see similar still, yeah, still there's a sitch. But the idea of even, we have to remember that pawns, one second, I just need a drink of water, one second. Better, okay. Okay. Okay, pawns aren't the whole thing. It's about checkmate, and black has a more maybe mobile knight. And yes, the pawns are on different color of the light squared bishop. There's a sitch with there's an issue with that though. If the knight and the king are ever able to gang up, just pretend that actually, let's see, knight here, king here. excuse me, and let's say this white king got here, there is no way for this bishop to guard this pawn again. So the king and the knight would win it. So that's why sometimes in this position it would not be a wise idea for white to trade off. But and then he loses his bishop. So really, did he accomplish anything? No. And now black has an outside pass pawn, so it's going to be an interesting idea for. Let's see if he gets in behind here, huh? Surprisingly, he actually won. Oh, I see why he can't get it. I see why he can't do that now. I get it. Here, I gotcha. Yeah, I see that now. Yep. Yeah, I see that now. This pawn is protecting the rook. Yep, I got that now. Yeah. These guys have everything in hand. Takes. Check. And at this point, he resigns because there's no way to stop the queening of this pawn. He's going to end up a whole rook down, and it's going to be all over. I'm not going to do the other game because this was a pretty long game, so we'll save this one for tomorrow. It's a 30. I think it's a 31 move game. We'll do that tomorrow. But do you guys have any games that you would like to go over that you feel comfortable doing that? Because we can go over one more before we start into tactics. Alright. Let's give that a look. Okay. Uh-oh. Where, oh where? Uh-oh. Okay, so what's your... Oh, okay. Yeah, you can resend that. It's a YouTube one. I was like, that's okay. Excuse me. Swallowed wrong. Pardon me. Oh, wow. Okay, there we go. Boy. Water went down the wrong part. Ah, better. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Which one are you, white or black? Yeah. So, oh, I was white. Gotcha. So you're playing the English Open. Bobby Fischer played this against Spassky. This move, first move in Game 6. And it threw Spassky off his game. And Bobby was able to win Game 6 beautifully. So, I think, yeah, in one of our seminar, or one of our recordings, I have that. I forgot what number it was, but it's in there. So one of his games, Game 6. Interesting. We probably should go. I might throw it in maybe in one of the episodes again because it was such a beautiful game that it's something to look at. and it's the only time that a world champion and grandmaster ever stood up and clapped for his opponent. Boris Spassky clapped for Bobby and said, "Good game. That was a great game." Supposedly, it was one of the best games ever played at the World Championship. I don't know. I haven't studied, other ones besides his, so there could be other ones that are as good as his now, but that's what was said. So knight comes back. So you take there, rook b8. Interesting. Into the position. Yeah, I see your idea might be to bring your bishop there to protect the knight. Potentially. Interesting. Nice. So far, so good. You're following principles of developing the bishop, and that's the good. Let's see back. So you're saying you thought your knight, you should have taken the d pawn. So let me see. Let's go back here. d6 pawn. Okay. Yeah. So there. Potentially, you could have. I think I agree. I think you might have been able to win a pawn. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you could have actually taken on d6 in one material. I don't really think there's a way to trap your, well, potentially there, but then you could always retreat back. So I think you were fine taking the pawn now that we looked at it. I didn't see that. I should have slowed down and looked. But yeah, that is a pawn that would potentially. Oh, we'll go there. It's an important pawn too. It's a central pawn. But you're still fine in the position. You're so well developed, and your bishops are so well placed that he has to now be careful if he moves this knight. You have a potential either e3 or e4 and queen g4 idea, or potentially h4, h5, h6. So you have a pretty good amount of pressure on him. Oh, I can't believe he did that. I didn't think that was such a. I guess he had to. Well, but let me see. Couldn't he? Yeah, I see that. But couldn't he have played um, d5 though instead of e5? That might have been actually a better move. Yeah. It's Nakamura likes to actually have his bishops on the side of the board. It's kind of a more modern idea, and it's good if you know how to handle bishops on the side of the board like this. And they're really strong. If you don't watch that there's a bishop here and a bishop here, you can actually lose a rook. You can get checkmated. There's a lot of yeah, I gotta say, spark to these ideas, a lot of firepower. So e5. I don't know if I would have done e5. I really think d5 would have been, that's just my opinion, d5 would have been a better idea. And he has an outpost at that point. So I don't know. I see the idea here, but you can always potentially go queen there, and if trades. So he made an inaccurate move. It wasn't a bad move, it just was not the best move. Because what the problem is, this bishop is trapped, and if he would have went, if he would have went here, he would have had a really well placed bishop, and he would have been able to develop his knights. D5, I know I'm kind of going back and talking about it again. D5 was a move that would have fully freed up his position. He E5 clamped it down. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah, there. Especially now this is undefended and he's going to have to take a turn to actually defend it. And now this is attacked. And potentially, let's see, he has an idea there. Maybe even here. Let me see. I know kind of what his idea is. He wants to clamp this bishop down, but he's not going to stop this bishop. I know his idea. I know what his idea. E5 was to stop your dark square bishop from just totally sniping down the A1 to H8 diagonal. But at what cost did he sacrifice to do that? So you have to take in consideration the art of sacrifice. There's actually a book based on that. I don't remember who wrote it, but you have to remember, is it worth sacrificing? Is it worth giving it? Was it worth shutting down this bishop here to give the knight this square on F5? I don't know, so we'll continue onward. And Snikes, yeah, he just... Now you see the power of why this move here was huge. I know I'm going back again on it. This move would have stopped that. Oh man, D5 would have shut everything down. He might have wanted to actually move this rook. Maybe this rook would have been a better rook, because that allowed for a fork. So, you know, each move has a consequence. So, they call it a drawback in chess. Drawbacks. Maurice Ashley has one that he calls it drawback chess. And the drawback to this rook moving was it left this rook to be forked right there. And you're going to win a pawn. And then you'll have a potential bishop to B5 with a pin on the knight. The pain just keeps coming and coming. And it's just sad, man. He's not having a good time. Let's just say this is not fun for black. And all because he didn't play D5. Do you see how powerful one move? It can do a chain reaction that could lose the game. One move. It gave up this pawn, this spot right here on F5. F5 caused the rook to attack the bishop, which caused another inaccurate move of his rook on F8 going to E8, and then you brought your bishop to B7, attacking the rook and the pawn, and now he's really in a problem. Not only is his dark square bishop out of play, his knight's pinned, and you have a bishop that's a queen and knight attacking. Pretty soon you might even potentially play here and then potentially here. Darn it, here and there with the rook protecting it. So, did you play rook to A4? Did you consider rook A4? Yeah, his position is totally shut down. You basically stopped everything that he had. because that's a ginormous. It locks this bishop, I understand, in, but think of the attack that you have now against the center. I don't know. Maybe I would play that. Maybe I wouldn't. But I believe that that might have been a power move that would have shocked him, because he cannot now attack down the diagonal. Yeah, he's just. It's just. Oh yeah, Hey, you got it. That's 100% right. When you said the light squares are a weakness, you're 100% right about that. He doesn't have a light squared bishop, and by you handling the light squares properly, you'll be able to dominate the position, and you are using your light squared bishop to its mass effect. Potentially, the mass effect idea would be there, but that's an idea. Nice, 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 nice. But I don't know. Would you be able to come in there and then knight takes, queen takes, pawn takes? I don't know if you'd want to implant it there. Let's see. C1. Not bad. Not bad. You haven't the idea of A4, A3 is in the air. Not bad. Then it's also protecting. App and yep, you have a couple. Now you have a potential for the rook to protect the knight, and you have a pin. So let's see, can this rook ever see, since you have this pin along here? Oh man, it's too bad that you didn't have, see, with this pin here, it's huge. So this knight is actually not protected by this knight. Did you look at this? That this knight is actually not protected? Because if he moves this knight, he loses a rook. Did you look into that this is actually a null piece? Because if this knight ever gets taken, this knight is unprotected, and this knight here is unprotected, because if this knight ever moved, he would lose a rook. So it's a tactic. So now you see the power of a pin. Gary. Oh yeah, that would work. Yeah, I see that. Let's see here. If actually this idea is powerful now that I think about it. This idea is actually super duper powerful. That idea, this idea is actually probably an exclam, if I was to say so. Rook e6. Well, then you have bishop takes d. Oh wow, you're right. My bad there. Yeah, that's right. Because this, yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's see. Yeah, that is interesting now that I think about it. Let's see here, here, or let's see here. Huh. Yep. I didn't see it. For some reason I missed that. But that looked so good. If there wasn't a rook to e6, that'd be so sweet. But yeah, it does. This rook does hold everything together. Yep. Now you're attacking. Snikes, that's right. Well, wait a second. You'd have to play a. I don't know if the queen's trapped if you played. Let's see, you'd have to draw it in. Huh. Then you do have that, don't you? Oh, now you'd have this. Wow. Nice, nice. Now you're going for devastation. That's nice. I like that. Yeah, yeah. Every piece is almost maxed out. Yeah, you have a couple pieces that this is a good piece because it's controlling there. So you really have only two pieces that aren't doing their max potential, which rook on a1, which my teacher always said that he knew which ones were my game before I understood about rook development and how important the rook was. I would I would leave my a rook in the quarter. It's so funny, and I would still win the game. And he says I could tell without even looking at the name of the game which player it was. So that was the big chess joke for our training session. He was a really cool guy. He was the best. Very 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 intelligent. Yeah. So he says though that when you start getting a way of thinking, you'll start getting a style. Like I'm more of an attacker, and I could tell Fox that you're more of an attacker as well because you're looking for areas to infiltrate into, and it's just stellar. Let me see. Knight f5. Let's see. Knight f5. G takes f5, and queen takes. Oh, I got you. I see what you're saying. Back here, that's a potential idea. I see what you're saying. That if takes here, then you come crushing in. I see that. Yeah, you could then he retreats back, and you win a pawn. This rook's being attacked. Potentially, there's a. Let me see. Is there any way? Well, you could play a6. Yeah, I could see that. I could see how potentially that's an idea there. Huh. Yeah, I think that's a way to activate your rook, and there's no light square bishop anymore. So interesting, huh? Hmm. Huh. I think you're still fine in this sitch. Let's see here. Let's say he moves here. Let's just say he moves. You potentially have an idea here, here, there. Well, actually, maybe you can retreat back. No, you don't want to do that. That's interesting. Let's see what I played. Okay, I could see your idea about getting the king to a safe spot on g2. It won't be attacked for a while. That was a good prophylactic idea because there's really no reason to rush. There's no reason to rush. So, and he doesn't really have anything that he really can play. You have his position so clamped down. Maybe he could play e4, but then if he plays e4, all you got to do is play f4. And then if he plays here, so what? So, yeah, you're in a total winning position. Oh, interesting. h1. Interesting. Huh. So you're trying to, yep, good job on that. Good job on the push on f4. That was an excellent move. That was a great move. You got to be careful though of semi-doubling here, because potentially there could be a maybe an infiltration into the position. with doubling rooks. You never know. You always just gotta predict unpredictable. So he's trying to infiltrate in that way. Takes. Let's see here. Huh. Yeah. Nice. Now A4 was a good idea at this point. There's no way. Well, yeah, he has to stay. You have to stay in contact with that guy. So probably you'd want to, at this point, exchange maybe the knight off, so you don't have any more pressure on your b pawn. That would be. Yeah, you can. Why didn't he take? I kind of can, because there's enough defense. You'd probably have to play up there and then, maybe then queen here, and he's kind of okay still. It depends. So I played there. Oh, he blundered. Ouch. Ouch. That hurts. That hurts bad. We've all done it before, though. Even grandmasters have sometimes those sitches. That is a, you know what, moving from the queen side, I mean the center of the queen side, Capablanca was a master at the right time switching. He would make his opponent feel like that he's in control, and then at the right second he would switch and his opponent would be in shock. So it's not bad that you switch. So wow, there. Couldn't you just checkmated there? Oh, you had 5 seconds left. Sweet. Yeah. Devastating. That was a good game. Really good game. Let's see, is this the one that has nope, this isn't it. I'll take this one and we'll do puzzles. Yeah, that was a really nice game. I'll go back real quick. I gotta say that was a great game. We'll finish it off. And then checkmate. Oh, you wanna look at it? Okay. All right. So where would you like to start? Would you like to start like on move 13, 14? Oh, move 8 and up. Okay. Gotcha. So move 8. Okay, one sec. Let's see. Okay, takes is correct. So far, so good. So it's saying to develop your bishop, your pawn here, and then after he plays here, you probably want to play there. Yep. So he's in agreement with that you can. Oh wow. Let's see. What did we play here? Okay, B3 is an idea. So the computer wants the two bishop slices. So we got to remember that in a situation like this, take a second to fianchetto our bishops to their most active square. So that teaches us, excuse me, that, okay, B5, he plays there. Let's see what it would have done. Hey, it was right. You were right. This is the correct move. Then here, and then takes the bishop. Yep, you were 100% right. And then there's B. Now I understand why they wanted B3 at early in the moment, because they saw that knight maneuver that we just played. They predicted that was going to happen. The engine, so it makes sense. Okay, so interesting. So he wanted that to be played. And takes. Let's see if D4 is correct. Knight. So the knight moves in. Okay, there we go. So we know now. It wasn't a bad move. So knight to D4. That was the correct move. Knight D4. Hey, we were right. We were right. D4 was correct. D4 was correct. That was right. I want to see what E4 does though. Oh, it gives you a whole pawn. Man, that gave you a point. Excuse me, a 0.7 of it. Excuse me, I need a good drink of water. Sorry, just tickled. Okay, that gives you a whole. Yeah. Try to go on knight C6 right here. Right there. Okay, knight C6. Two pawn. Remember, we're at black's in a closed position, so these two knights are more powerful than a rook and a potential endgame. So that, oops, that makes sense. I see you kept your advantage. Oh, your idea was to go C4. So it's a good thing that you went F5. That was a good thing you went F5 rather than the other one. It was actually a more powerful one, so. And you did the bishop. The bishop move was correct. What did it say for which? I was right. He should have moved this rook. I was right about that. That move was correct. So that was a correct move. Oops. So when he played there, yeah. So that he lost almost 2 pawns there. So that wins a pawn. Bishop goes back. Interesting. So it says knight E3. Because it's the purpose of the knight is no longer of any value. So he probably wants to reroute. Or maybe go here and then something like that. So we were right. Potentially that was a good idea. That was right. Interesting. So knight slips in was wasn't that the idea? And oh, there we go. Remember the idea we talked that this knight was actually pinned. We were that was right. That was right. Let's see if this. I want to see if that holds anything. Nope, the queen's trapped. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow. Wow. That's game over right there. Snikes. Yeah, you were right. That was right. That was right. I think potentially the idea may be still. Oh, okay. This. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, this idea no longer. I don't think this idea works anymore. Yeah, that was close though. Tells you we got to do our tactics. Tactics are huge. That was a tactic. Good find. Good find on that. So far, so good. You're still two pawns up, so you're still winning. Or 1.7 at this point. Two. Interesting. Huh. That's still an idea there. Let's see, what does it say to do? Hold on, hold on. Oh, knight. It says knight to go. So you're looking. You want to go to G. You want to check out what G4 does. Let's see here. Let's see. Is this the one that says G4? Hold on. He was there. Hold on. Where's? Okay, here. At this point. Yeah. Okay. G4. G6. H6. And there was a difference between these two ideas. And then there. That was right. Then you're seeing it. See? That's why you can use the engines for the ability. Yeah, see, we kind of slightly lost a tiny bit. Now we're back. He still didn't see the proper move. Okay. He didn't see the proper move again. Knight in there. Wow. For some reason, we just missed this move. This is like, that is the thing that the computer loves to hold on to with all its might. It's like D5, D5, D5. It's saying that. Hey, you went into it. Sweet. Pawn takes. And then you lock the structure down. Interesting. Because I think they're wanting you to create a pass pawn. See if you could take there, and let's say that's played, you have a protected passer. And if this is played, you still have a protected passer. I think that's what they're trying to say is a good idea. Is one of these will become, if the queen doesn't move, one of these guys will become a passer. Okay, still good. Yeah, they actually had a on Chess24, the tournament channel. They had a tournament for computers. And I am not exactly sure. I didn't get to see all of it. It came down to Houdini and Stockfish 8. Or was it 9? I'm not saying. It's one of the Stockfishes. And it was a draw. It was like 12-12. There were 16 games that they played. And it was 12-12. And I wasn't able to see it. And then before I could get back on, they removed the game thing. And I was like, drat. I wanted to see which one won. So last time I checked, they were equal on their move sequences for the computer. So I see this. It wants to totally gain space. This would have totally. Yeah, if me and you guys, we're attackers though. We're attackers, so it's we play attacking like, and Stockfish sometimes is more positional. So that's why it's good, like what you're saying, Fox, to go over our games with the engine just to see the slight perfect. No, I don't want to call it perfect, 'cause nobody's perfect. The best of the moves. We get to see the best of the moves. So that's still fine. Okay, one pawn. So he pushes. You did right. F4 is correct. What do we play? Okay, rook. So he's playing correct. That's correct. 0.9. Pawn 1.3. You took. That's correct. Correct. Okay, it wanted to kind of trade the bishop off. That's interesting for sure. Okay, he lost 4 pawns there. Wow, let me see. What the heck is that tactic? Oh, you win a pawn. Wow. And you take. He can't take here if he takes Snikes. Yeah, well, wow, I don't know if that's such a good idea. He's gonna have to hold. That's very awkward for sure. I think the rook's trapped. And you gotta check. Yeah, this is total destruction here. Because if he moves here, you get mate. Mate in 3. So here. Oh, that's. Oh, yeah, because that's a pin, isn't it? Then he comes up here and. Wow, Stockfish is brutal, man. That is brutal. Gotta love it, though. That's why the rook has to take and then check here. Oh, check. Sweet. The bishop intercepts. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not fun for him. So, yeah, it's brutal. It's pretty hardcore. And they love just grabbing pawns like there's no tomorrow. So they're, as Yazzer would say, they're pawn greedy. Wow, oh, did we miss that? We missed this strat because now you're threatening to play here. If, let's just say, he moves a silly move like that, you're threatening to play there. Then if he comes up, you check. You check here, and then he has to come down and snap. There we go. So bishop here. He takes. Queen takes. takes, wins a pawn, takes, takes. Wow, that is total. That's not fun. Wow, look at this. You're going to make a passer. 3 passers, Nikes. That would have been fun for sure. That would be fun. Then he moves there. There we go. Dang, he won the queen. Wow. Ouch. Okay. So we played there. So it says that attacking, that it says this is the best idea out of the sitch. If takes here, takes. He can't take back, because if he does, he loses the rook. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The machine is brutal for sure. Yeah, that's 4. He takes. Yeah, he should have taken here. Smack. Ouch. So that one. That was 12. He totally got hurt there. Check. So he rook takes. Did you planned all this out, huh? This type of combo. Nice. With that check you planned out. And then yeah, there's check and then mate. That was a good game. Showed some slight spots that we need to work on. We have to work on our tactics, and that's what it shows us. It also shows us that we have to look for more outposts. The outposts are powerful in that we have to go for weaknesses, like in this structure when the knight was here and there was only 1 pawn, he had 3. The pushing there was a good idea. So it shows where we need to work. We all need to work on that. Well, thank you for the game, Fox. That was really a good game to go over. Well, I have to log off to do some work and studies. So I appreciate you guys talking and going over one of the games, the 79 move game and Fox's game. This was really, really helpful in our learning process. Thank you. Okay, and with that, as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, guys, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Remember, keep studying chess and only look back to learn, but keep moving forward. Bye bye, guys.